Stupid bards being good at freaking everything, thinking they can be the best martial class, the best spellcasters, all while playing their silly little instruments. Hell, when you take one, you feel like you can't replace them in your party anymore because they give you an additional short rest. Gosh, they're just so damn selfless. And have you seen their charisma? They make me sick. Well, today, bards, it's your day of reckoning. Let's jump in game. Alright, jokes aside, this is our last subclass to cover for patch 8, the stress test. And that is the College of Glamour Bard. Now this subclass actually caught me by surprise, and not in a good way. But we'll get into that as we go through the leveling process, so strap in. So obviously starting off as a Bard, and then cantrip wise, I'm going with Friends and Vicious Mockery here. Obviously something like Minor Illusion is a solid choice as well. Mage Hand isn't bad either. Spell wise, I'm going with Dissonant Whispers, Long Strider, Healing Word, and Thunder Wave. And then for your starting instrument, always pick what you want. I like the lute actually. And then ability score wise. So College of Glamour, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about it obviously when we get to the subclass, but we have this ability laid out because I don't think this is a class that benefits from using a martial weapon, like using two-handed crossbows or two swords or something like that. Bard already has a subclass for that, and that is the College of Swords. And I feel like the subclass we're choosing is very much a spell caster. And I would say it's a spell caster that really benefits from having good constitution for those concentration spells. So you'll notice as we go through spells and what we're going to pick up, we're going to have to be pretty conservative with which concentration spells we pick up, because if we take too many, then it's just basically like spell bloat on our bar. So let's go ahead and head to level 2. And yes, this is the Nomad After Dark edition. You can tell because my hat is backwards. So level 2 Bard here, they get their Jack of all trades. This is a normal Bard thing. Everything so far is just still normal. Short Song of Rest here. Yes, this is one of the key things that just make Bards so freaking good. The fact that they give you an additional short rest. So before we get actually too deep into this video and Bard in general, just know the base Bard kit, as in the things that every Bard subclass gets, it still makes them an extremely strong class. And I roll my eyes at that because obviously the class fantasy, I'm just not the biggest fan of. And of course I'm being like overly dramatic on like my feelings of them, so don't take it too personally. But let's move on. The spell we're going to pick up here is Sleep. Again, I'm really trying to avoid picking up too many concentration spells. So let's move on to level 3, which is where we're going to pick up our college. And our college is the College of Glamour. You mastered your craft under the tutelage of fey creatures, whose captivating magic swirls within you, ready to be released. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we pick up Mantle of Inspiration. So this is your class action. You can see it costs a bonus action and then your Bard resource, which is Bardic Inspiration. But it reads, imbue 2 allies with your vigor and grant them 5 temporary hit points. If they are hit with a melee weapon, or a melee attack I should say, the attacker becomes charmed. And so if we do a quick refresh of what charmed is, the condition is can't attack the spellcaster, and the spellcaster has advantage on charisma checks and dialogue. So charm can be used outside of combat, but this class action isn't going to apply for that. It's really just that first part, which is can't attack the spellcaster, that is going to be, I guess, the main focus for this class action. And I don't know if you picked it up, but I'm really emphasizing the fact that this says if they're hit with a melee attack, because I know it can probably be really easy to kind of gloss over that and be like, okay, so it's any attack. No. It has to be a melee attack. And so for this class action, as we get stronger, as we level up, the number of targets that you can imbue will increase, and so will the temporary hit points, the amount you get there. So I'll maybe flash that up on the screen right now as far as like when do these things get increased, because I don't think it's going to tell us as we're leveling. And notice this doesn't have like a duration as well. So when you cast this, it stays on whoever your target is until the conditions are met. It probably actually does fall off if you like long rest. But besides that, yes, it's going to stay on you. So let's go back real quick and let's pick up a spell. Now spell wise, I am going to pick up Enhance Ability. This is just for checks in the game outside of combat. And this is a helpful one, and this is a concentration that's not going to kind of interrupt or get in the way of our combat concentrations. So I think this is a good pickup. And if you don't want to pick this up, then I would actually take something that does damage, like Shatter, and then maybe Cloud of Daggers, but that's a concentration. And actually having one of these concentrations early on, I think before level 6 is okay. So maybe take Cloud of Daggers. Actually, yeah, I think I'll take Cloud of Daggers instead. Let's move on to level 4. So level 4 here, we get another cantrip. I would take Minor Illusion, and spell-wise, I would take Hold Person. Hold Person is a very, very strong enchantment spell, and it has like a multitude of benefits, and it scales up really well as well. This Hold Person can lock down an entire room, and the cherry on top is the fact that attacks within 3 meters are always criticals. So Hold Person, I think, is a great pickup here. I guess technically we could have taken it at level 3 as well, but I also wanted to get the feat to improve my ability score for charisma. So that's what I do at level 4. Let's move to level 5. So at level 5, our bardic inspirations, they get improved. So they were originally a 1d6, now they're 1d8. And I think, yeah, they also now come back on short rest. Prior to level 5, they only come back on long rest. So having your class resource here come back on short rest, that's pretty dang good. That's why I said at the beginning of the video, the base bard kit that all the colleges get is still just, it's so strong. It's never not useful, put it that way, in a party. You could run a party of 4 bards and you'd be like completely fine. In fact, better than fine. You'd just wipe the floor with everything. Anyways, let's move on to the spell. I'm taking another damaging spell, and I'm going to take Glyph of Warding. Or something like Bestow Curse isn't bad either, but I'm going to take Glyph of Warding, and you'll see why next level. We got a lot to talk about at level 6. So at level 6, we get the class action to do Counter Charm. So you and your allies within 9 meters have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. So this is for 3 turns. This is actually a really nice action, especially if you know there's a few encounters in this game where being frightened can absolutely stun lock your party and lead to like a party wipe. And that really would suck on like an honor mode run. So this counter charm here is actually pretty handy if you know it's coming. So let's move past the spell real quick and look at our class action here, which is Mantle of Majesty Command. And this is our class action. So let's take a look at the tooltip here. So command a creature to flee, move closer, freeze, drop to the ground, or drop its weapon. That might sound very familiar to some of you that play Cleric, because we get the command spell. This is not a spell. This is a bonus action. Additionally here, targets that are charmed automatically fail their saving throw. So you can kind of see how this class is going to play, where you buff your allies with the first class action we got, and that'll give them the effect that if a melee attacker hits them, you then could use this command here to automatically have them fail their saving throw, so any of these command skills would proc. And that sounds pretty good, right? Well, here's the kicker. You see down here it says 10 turns. That's because this is a concentration action, not a spell because it didn't cost a spell slot, but this is something you're going to be concentrating on. And I feel like if we're making a guide or a build that's based off the subclass, well, we should be using the subclass options that we get. And for College of Glamour here, this is Mantle of Majesty. We should be using this. So this is going to take up our concentration slot. And something else it doesn't tell you here is that once you use this, it doesn't come back until long rest. So this is good for one fight. So some of you might be thinking, okay, so what's the matter with that? Let's just wait till the gameplay section. I find this mechanic and what this subclass has going on very, very underwhelming. Kind of just not very good, especially when you compare it to the other subclass options for Bard. And then other classes and subclasses can do the job I think this subclass is trying to do. They can do it better. But let's move on to spells. We're going to pick up Bestow Curse. This is another concentration. And then move on to level 7. So at level 7 here, we are going to pick up just another spell. We're going to pick up Confusion. Now, another great option here is Greater Invisibility. And yes, these are both concentrations as well. But I would say prior to level 7, really your concentration options are, I would say Cloud of Daggers, Old Person, that class action, the Mantle of Majesty, and now Confusion is a really good one, and so is Greater Invisibility. Honestly, last level using Bestowed Curse, I actually don't use it that often. I was just picking some. So of course, when picking spells, pick what you think you'll need for your party. But let's move on to level 8. So at level 8, we're going to get our other feat, but this is where I'm going to pick up Greater Invisibility, And feat wise, I'm going to go with Warcaster because I think concentration spells are that important on this subclass. Now, of course, you can find gear and items in the game or even elixirs that will help with your concentration saving throws if you don't want to take Warcaster. And if that's the case, taking something like Alert will be really good. Ability improvement, make sure your charisma is even higher. Because we're not really going to be focusing on like using a weapon, I think dexterity is fine where it's at. But that's kind of like my reasoning for taking Warcaster in this video. Obviously, there's a lot of different options for Bard, especially when you throw gear and items into the mix. So let's move on to level 9. So at level 9, we get some level 4 and level 5 spells. I'm going to take Hold Monster. So we're just kind of building out our spell library to have basically a lot of, I would say, control, lockdown spells to assist our party and basically, again, control the battlefield. So let's go to level 10. So level 10, we actually get to add some more skills. I would just go Perception and Persuasion. I feel like those are good solid picks. Cantrip wise, Light or Mage Hand, I'm gonna go with Mage Hand. And then spell wise here, I think taking something like Seeming or even Polymorph, Dimensional Door, something utility wise. Planar Biting is pretty good as well. Gives you an option to kind of like flip one of the enemies. It's a concentration though, so keep that in mind. But I think I'm actually going to take a level 3 spell. I'm going to take Fear. I do like Fear. I feel like it's a really good spell actually. And then we also get Magical Secrets where we have basically a shit ton of choices here. So I would say pick what you think you're going to need. I'm going to take Scorching Rays because this synergizes really well with Hold Person. We're going to skip on something like Haste because I want our concentration spells to be debuffing and locking down the enemy, not so much buffing our party. This is also a great opportunity to take Counter Spell, again, building into that controlling spellcaster, which I think College of Glamour leans itself into. Another option, if you find yourself running out of spell slots, is instead of taking Scorching Ray, take Eldritch Blast. There's a bunch of items in the game that will boost this Eldritch Blast damage, so that could be good as well. But for this video, I'm just gonna stick with Scorching Ray. And I already know I'm gonna get a bunch of comments on people picking different things, and I look forward to reading that. But you're gonna see in the gameplay section, this is gonna work. Well, yeah, Mr. Nomad, it is gonna work, but you know, you suck at the end of the day. I know. And at level 11 here, we unlock our level 6 spells. I think I'm going to take Otto's Irresistible Dance. This is just a very fun one and very fitting for, you know, bards. They're stupid instruments. I actually like music, so I don't know why I'm being so harsh on the instrument part. Let's go to level 12. Level 12, we get another spell. I really think we have everything we need. I'm just gonna pick Seeming that way. This is just a fun one. A little bit being goofy, and I feel like bards are very goofy. Now, feat wise, I'm gonna go with ability improvement. I'm actually gonna bump up my constitution. You might be wondering, why don't you bump up your charisma here? I'm going to be using Birthright and then the Duke's Longsword. So that's going to be +4 to charisma, so it's going to be 22. But again, lots of ways to basically build out bards as far as feats. This is just the choices I like to make. So let's go to the gameplay section. All right, and then onto the gameplay section here. Told you I was using Birthright, and I'm also using the Duke's Longsword. That is what's giving us our charisma to 22. Catholic Shield, the Weave, the Robe of the Weave here, and then the Cloak of Protection. These two are obviously for higher DCs. And then we can take a look at our skill bar. Now, as a bard, if you take something like Longstrider, always cast Longstrider on yourself and your allies between long rest. And then, so for the subclass skill here, Mantle of Inspiration, as you can see there, 4 allies you can target with it, and it'll give you 11 temporary hit points. And so the first thing that's kind of weird about this thing, so Charmed, when you put this on somebody and a melee character hits them, that melee character is then charmed and they will go elsewhere. So it's like, okay, you put this on your frontliners and they get hit by like a fighter, and then that fighter is going to then leave the front line and then go hit your back line. And then they'll hit your back line and then just like ping pong around. Or on the flip side of that, how often is your back line ever really, I would say, threatened by a melee character? Because that's really the only use for this Mantle of Inspiration. Now it does give you those temporary hit points, so that's okay. It's just weird that this is kind of like a buff to your party to kind of like protect them, but then the people who are in the front who are probably going to be getting hit with a melee weapon, well, they're just gonna, those people, they're the enemies who are hitting them in melee, are then just going to travel to your backline. So I don't know about this one. I don't know how this one works in 5e, so you guys can tell me if this is kind of works the same or if I'm completely missing something about this subclass, but it's not a very good subclass action in my opinion. And then there's the Mantle of Majesty here. This is what we'll be focusing on in the gameplay section, and you'll just see it's pretty underwhelming, and I would much rather use command on a cleric instead and just use the spell slot, because that command spell doesn't require a concentration. And if you multi-class it with something like a sorcerer, you can meta magic, extend it with it, and then that command extension will go even longer. It's just the fact that this is a concentration and it comes back on long rest. It actually says here now on long rest. The only good thing about this, I will say, is that it's a bonus action. So the normal command is a regular spell action. So let's just show it off. So looking at my bar here, you can see I have like all my concentrations lined up here because this Mantle of Majesty, it's not going to last many fights. It's just going to last one fight, actually. If we're still going to lean into, I guess, what this subclass is supposed to be as far as a controller, then we have all these concentration spells to kind of, we have basically an answer for every situation, or most of them, I should say. And so when I first built this subclass out, I picked nothing but concentration abilities, and I didn't have anything that did damage. So don't fall into the same mistake I did when I first built out this College of Glamour. Bring some damaging spells, and I think Scorching Ray is the perfect fit for obviously Hold Person and Hold Monster. These are probably the two that you're going to utilize the most. It's just, yeah, sorcerers do this job better as far as using Hold Person and Hold Monster again with meta magic. And really most of the positives that come with this subclass are just the normal bard things that all the other bards get. So that's enough shitting on this subclass. Let's just go ahead and get into the fight, and you kind of see how it flows, because I don't think it flows very well either. We got them all aggroed in there. We're gonna make them come to us, so we'll hide in the corner. It does give this little glow effect. I don't know if you noticed that when we have the Mantle of Inspiration, so that's neat. And you can see there, getting hit, it actually took off the Mantle of Inspiration. Now, why did the Mantle of Inspiration fall off? Is it just because Lae'zel was hit? That looks like it. She didn't have to roll for anything. It doesn't state anywhere in this tooltip that if you get hit with a ranged attack, because that's what the ranger hit us with volley, which is a normal range attack, which is, it's not like a javelin being thrown, which maybe the code reads that as a melee weapon. So he hit us with a normal like range attack, and he does not have charmed on him as well. So that's great. I know, yes, Shadowheart also lost it. I'm wondering if they lose it when the temporary hit points are taken off. It's just very underwhelming. I don't know if you guys can already start to see that. It's like, okay, well, that's great. So any range attack can just take off this class action. Now you can reapply it, but it's going to take a bonus action, and then it's also going to take a bardic inspiration. But yeah, I really don't want to spend a bonus action just to apply that for characters that may or may not come to attack me with their melee hit. So what are our options here? Well, first let's clean up the room a little bit, and then we'll show off how Mantle of Majesty works. So let's just get them in there, and then we're going to upcast Hold Person. I think we only need to do it to 5, and we're just going to cover them heavy hitters here. So because our charisma is so dang high, we got the majority of them. And so we can't use Mantle of Majesty right now, because like I said, right there, it's a concentration. And if you notice in the tooltip, it does, like, again, this is the normal command action, and it's just for one turn. Not great. I think what makes command, the normal command spell, so good is that it's a level 1 spell, it's not a concentration, it does last only one turn, but it's not a huge investment like a concentration, or something that only comes back on long rest. Well, geez, Nomad, you're doing a lot of bitching this episode. I don't like this Nomad After Dark. I'm sorry, I'm usually a lot more happy than this. So let's just get Shadowheart. Actually, we can just move her close in. It doesn't matter. I don't think anybody's going to break this Hold Person anytime soon. And we will move Lae'zel in. She is just a champion fighter, so these are all going to crit. So there's one down. Let's go ahead and Misty Step closer to the mage over here. really quickly just get back to the bard's turn. And we cleaned up most of the room. Okay, so now we can kind of take our time and we can show off the Majesty Mantle. Actually, before we do that, let's just go ahead and melt this guy, upcast Scorching Ray here, and just absolutely obliterate him. So this is a great combination right there, the Hold Person, Scorching Ray, but that's not something unique or special to College of Glamour. We're gonna move a little closer. Okay, now we're gonna use Mantle of Majesty, and we're going to hit them with, let's have them drop their weapon. 85% chance, pretty good. Drop the weapon, good to go. Now this lasts for 10 turns, so that's going to be for one encounter, and then it's going to be gone until your next long rest. And then while we're concentrating on this, we can then use our bonus action for when it's our turn next to do another command. And the duration on these commands is only one turn. You can see weapon drop and has one turn remaining. So let's go ahead and skip turn, per turn, weapon dropped. He's just going to pick it up. So it's like, this is great. Okay, we'll just command halt, I guess. So he's not going to do anything next turn. So like, I'm just locking down one guy. Like, okay, well, and again, this is the unique and special things for this subclass. And I just don't think it's very good. So unless I'm missing something completely with this subclass, I don't think it's very good. And this might be my least favorite subclass out of all the new ones. Now, if I'm completely wrong about this subclass, I will make a follow-up video. I am not opposed to doing that. But as it stands, I don't think I'm missing anything major that would make this class like really pop off. Again, other than just building into normal bard things. And oh, yes, that is the video. We have covered all the new subclasses in patch 8, the stress test. So what is the plan moving forward? Well, I'm going to take a couple days. I'm probably going to take a very, very long nap. And then I think I'm going to do like an overall like ranking video on all the subclasses. And I'm going to judge them also of how well does the subclass like play into its class fantasy. And then of course, in game, how does that like playstyle and mechanics, how do they flow? For example, I think Bladesinger, I love that new mechanic. I love the building up your damage and building up your healing and then climaxing. I always smile when I say that. Who doesn't? So something like that is going to get a lot of brownie points in my book. Other than that, I just want to thank you guys so much for basically taking this journey with me as far as covering the subclasses. It has been a lot of fun. I have loved reading your guys' comments and has basically been the fuel in my belly to like keep pumping out these videos. So I will see you guys in a few days for that video. And until then, peace and take care.